everyone. I've decided this is the intro today. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the classic Skeleton Crew podcast, starring your hosts, Almighty Stross, that's me.
And Sardo, that's me. Hello, everybody. Sardo / Unkle Death, whichever one you prefer. Hello, everybody.
One of these days, I joked, by the way, to myself that I was going to open the first episode with a fake theme song. But because I don't have any instruments to record a theme song or any software to make music, it would have just been me singing a really not real theme song.
Well, give me some time. I'll grab a kazoo for next time.
You know what? Maybe. We'll just have kazoo.
I'm dead serious, man.
I know you're serious. It's just that I have to remember, and I won't.
You know what? That's valid.
Anyway, folks, last time we talked about what makes a good bad movie, but today we're going to talk about something different. We're going to be talking about things that scared us as kids. We have some stories, but first we opened up about the hentai back last week. We're not doing that. We're going to talk about the story of Pedro Paramo, a book that I bought, but specifically how it got delivered to my house.
Okay.
So I ordered it off Amazon because it's a Mexican novel. I'm going to read from Selden Rodman of the New York Times Book Review. Among contemporary writers in Mexico today, Juan Rulfo is expected to rank among the immortals. It's about a guy who goes back to his dad's hometown. It's full of ghosts.
Very nice.
It's very fun, I think. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. So I bought it Sunday to read for next week. And I had to buy it via Amazon because it's kind of hard to just buy books that... my local bookstore is good, but it's like, if I'm not sure it's going to have this. No guarantees.
Yeah.
So I buy it. I'm like, all right, it's got to get here on Valentine's Day. And as you know, Valentine's Day is every time's day.
Oh, of course.
And I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, excellent. It's coming. And then it's like, oh, it's not going to get here. It's going to get here on Wednesday. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Don't care. I don't need it until next Wednesday anyways. And then it's like, actually, on second thought, we're going to deliver it at 10 p.m. because Amazon does that for some insane reason.
Why not? So
I'm sitting there. I'm streaming. And I'm streaming with my friend Celine, as you know.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there and I suddenly get a message your order's been delivered, and it shows where they put it, and I see the picture. It's not my house.
Oh no.
I'm like, whose house is this? I'm like, did I actually send this to my mother's house? Because that's happened before. I want everyone to understand that I've accidentally sent packages to my mother's house because it's still in my
vicinity.
Address book. It's not in my vicinity. That's all the way across the country. My parents still live in San Francisco. If I send something there, it's all the way to the other side of the country.
Oh, no.
This is not a complaint. I didn't send it there, by the way. I double-checked just to make sure I didn't do that, because I've done that before. I haven't done it in a while, but, it's a thing that could happen.
Yeah.
And I look, and I'm like, whose deck is this? Because I live in an area where all the houses have, little, front porches. Not, a porch necessarily, but, there's, a little bit of stairs, and it's a little porch area, mostly because here in the Massachusetts, in the Grand Mass area, you get places where it snows, it rains, you get the elements.
Right.
So you have, a little bit for when people come to your house. They can be like, yes, I'm out of the elements while I they can brush themselves off with snow, which I've done.
Yeah.
Because it snows here. So then I come back, and I'm like, when I'm done streaming, I try to check, see whose deck it is. Because I'm like, okay, which one of my neighbors is now stuck with my package and have to deal with that on their own time? And I want to make it very clear, I feel bad for them. This is not their fault. They didn't do this. This was because it was 10 p.m., it's dark out, and seeing the numbers on the buildings is hard. And the GPS to get to our house is weirdly not where my house is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. So there I am. I'm like, okay, where the hell is this thing? And I'm like, I couldn't find it. I'm starting to check people's deck at like 1 a.m. in the morning, so that's already kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I come back, and someone had brought it back, which I assume is happening, but now I don't know where my package went.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, to myself, it's like, if you're just gonna fuck it up, why not just deliver it in the daytime? I could have waited.
That is an excellent question.
Because now I had to like send, it's like, oh, did we do good? I'm like, no, you didn't deliver it to my house.
You did very bad, actually.
You failed. You failed at the one goal, which is put package in front of door.
You had one job.
Yeah. And I don't like yelling about people who work at a service job. That's not nice. I'm a nice person, I'd like to believe.
Right.
But yeah, that's how my Tuesday went, which was otherwise a very pleasant Tuesday. I'm just like, why? Why?
Why this?
I was just, because I don't order a lot of stuff off of Amazon, and I don't order a lot of stuff in general. I just go out and buy it when I can. But it was just really funny to be like, God dang it, I don't know how to go out and find out. Like, I almost wanted to put up a note that says, like, hey, whoever had my package, go ahead, you can open it, read the book, I don't mind, just bring it back to me by next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I needed. It's not a long book, it's only like 124 pages, it's a novella.
Well, that sounds like it'll be a good read. You'll have to let me know how it is.
I will. I'm excited. I've been trying to get my book club to read more different literature. There's a bad case of nerds only wanting to read the things they want to learn. Let me just say, this better do better than the last thing you suggested for book club in terms of people showing up.
Mm-hmm.
You want to guess the amount of people that showed up?
How many?
That is not what a guess is, Sardo. A guess requires you to throw out a guess.
I don't know, 5?
Oh no, that's when we get like more than the usual amount of people. I got 2. And yeah, it was sad. People didn't want to read more of Berserk, and I was sad.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, the start of Berserk is not a good foot forward, so I'm not going to blame people that much.
Yeah. That's a rough read.
We'll talk more about Berserk another day. It's not on the sheet, but it's going to happen.
Yes. Oh, and before we get into our topic for today, real quick, I would like to make a happy birthday announcement.
Oh.
It is my dad's birthday today.
Oh yeah, we're recording this on the 15th. Happy birthday to Sardo's father. Thank you for helping bring Sardo into the world.
I won't say how old he is, but he sounds like he's having a very good birthday today. So happy birthday, Dad. Thank you for being my dad.
I mean, I don't know how old my dad is either. I forgot. I'm like, at this point, he's just old. I mean, my dad's retired.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it's like, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're a retiree.
Exactly.
You've achieved the goal.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to... Go ahead.
No. I do want to say happy birthday, Mr. Redacted. I hope you have a wonderful birthday. You don't know who I am, but your beloved child does.
All right. So, shall we get started?
Yeah, I guess we'll just go into our main topic, and if we have anything else to talk about, we'll talk about it once we're done. Today, we're talking about things that scared us as kids, because we're currently both in agreement that we have much more brain-wormy topics that we absolutely want to talk about, but no, we can't start with.
Yeah, because we don't want to scare anybody away quite yet.
We don't want to scare our potential sponsors away just yet. Soon.
And this one is always like when I'm at a party and like I don't really know people, but I want to start a conversation. This is usually the question that I ask people. It's like, what is something that just scared the crap out of you as a kid? Because
I
You
got a
always get
couple.
interesting answers.
I got a couple. I might as well start. Let's this. We're at a party and Sarah just asked me, so I'm going to do it. Well, when I was a small lad, and I talked like this all the time. But in reality, I have two. I have a good one that I remember off the top of my head. Was I had a nightmare when I was a kid that
Mhm.
has stuck with me for ages, and it was about a green pumpkin that got mad at me because I took its dirt, and then it ate me.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, but the part that I remember most about the pumpkin was that the pumpkin did not look like a normal green pumpkin. It looked like a puppet version of a pumpkin.
Okay.
So for some reason, it looked like a puppet. Apparently, I dreamed in puppets, in puppet format.
As kids are wont to do, I guess.
Yeah. The other
That does sound
one that I have. Go on though.
that does sound scary though. I would be
It,
afraid.
yeah, I was like, I don't know. I was young enough to be like, you know, a child.
Yeah.
When they, what's worse than that? A child.
No.
No, but the other one was something that also scared my older sister because
Mhm.
when my older sister moved out to go to boarding school, she left a I got to take over her room at my
Right.
dad's house, and in it was this giant Jim Morrison poster. And like we swear to God, both of us swear that at night it was the spookiest fucking poster because it looked like his face was replaced by a skull. We had a haunted poster until, and get this, until it got broken by accident.
Oh no.
And then it was back to normal.
Now, was it back to normal, or did it just unleash the curse upon the rest of the world?
I don't know, maybe. I
See,
wasn't
this
so.
is why everything's so bad now.
I don't think that this was too far back for it to be that. I still believe it was being held at bay by David Bowie.
You know, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah. But what?
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, you first. Go on.
I I had a couple of things and like I don't know, I had an excessively overactive imagination as a kid, like to the point where it got really annoying for my parents, I think.
Yeah,
But
it's good that I let you go because I was just basically going to ask you to go.
yeah, so like there were a lot of things, and I think the more I don't know, the more usual answer, I think the stuff you probably hear a lot of people say, Watership Down absolutely traumatized me as a
Oh,
kid.
I
Um,
mean, yeah.
I had a babysitter who was one of those people that she was this older lady, she was a chain smoker, and she would basically just she had a living room with a TV in it, and she's like, "Okay, here's the TV. Have fun. I'm gonna go smoke." And I was watching TV, and Watership Down came on Cartoon Network for whatever reason. And I like, my dad was a 4-H kid. He was a, country kid growing up, and I was around that a lot. And it's like, listen, I know there's animal death. I know rabbits are messed up because my dad raised them. And rabbits are mean and awful and scary. They're very cute, but they're awful. But
Yeah.
seen I'd never seen anything like that. And by the time my mom came to get me, I was just still kind of sitting there like in shock. 'Cause like I think it was the scene the one that always sticks with me is the one where like the rabbits are like in the burrows and like people are like dumping poison gas in there and the rabbits are like trying to claw their way up and just absolutely reshaped my brain.
I have another one that's quite like that because yeah, Watership Down, despite being a children's movie, should not be for kids.
For kids.
Yeah, but God, I just remember this one because you and I are of the age where you had the several VHSs you had as a kid.
Oh yes.
Because for the youngins who maybe might be listening in, I don't know. I think the average age of our podcast listening base is our age and up.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them is my mom, therefore officially old enough to be my mother.
But for the stray Zoomer that makes their way
Yeah,
onto here.
for the random Gen Z child, back when we were young, you could only have so many videotapes. And they were tapes, and they weren't very good. And they were a terrible
We didn't
format.
have Netflix.
There was no streaming. And Netflix, back when I was a kid, eventually would only give you DVDs.
And they mailed them to you.
Which is weird now that I think about it. It's very, very odd practice when you think about it. Life was different back then. But one of them was Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I think you know.
Classic.
I think you know exactly which scene I'm talking about, because it's all about when Judge Doom finally is revealed as the bad guy, and you're like, "Oh, I am perturbed."
Remember me, Eddie?
When I killed your brother, I sounded just like this. And then the eyes pop out. It's like, I was not ready.
I would say though, a close second to that scene is the bit where he's got the cartoon shoe. And he drops it into the. Oh my god!
Yeah, If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It holds up extremely well and it's still fantastic. Rest in peace to Bob Hoskins, by the way, and Richard Williams.
Yeah.
The two probably most important people in terms of making that movie work.
It's really, really phenomenal movie. Like sometimes I still watch it. And it's like I don't know how the hell my parents let me see this as a kid.
I mean, it was the 80s.
It was different times.
We were watching it in the 90s. The other one that was like that was the Large Marge scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
Specifically where she suddenly goes all spooky, and you're like,
ah! And as you've said before, it's like you forget that it's a Tim Burton film up until that bit.
Yeah. No, you forget that Tim Burton is directing that movie, because it's one of those movies where it's like very much clearly like it's Paul Rubin's vehicle.
Yes.
Tim Burton's just there to be the guy behind the camera.
Right.
Until there are moments where the movie's like, no, this is where the Tim Burton comes out. The other one is a dream sequence with clowns. I'm like, it is the most 80s Tim Burton thing that could happen. And I appreciate the movie for being that way.
Yeah, it's good shit.
It's good shit. So what else scared you as a child?
This is a little bit of a weird one. I was about, I think, 6 years old, and we were over at my maternal grandmother's house for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And my parents and my uncles were watching the South Park movie. And I was walking past, I was on my way to go do something else, and they were at the scene where they replace Kenny's heart with a baked potato and his chest explodes, basically. And
I was also too young to be watching that movie, but watched it anyways.
That fucked me up phenomenally. And from that day forward, I actually had, I think, a little bit of a legit phobia of Kenny. I was very afraid of him.
You know, I was kind of hoping you were gonna say I had a legit phobia of baked potatoes.
Oh, I've always loved baked potatoes.
Yeah,
like you could never scare me away from those things.
I probably not, but I also liked baked taters.
Love a tater. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Which is taters.
But we at our local and again showing my age here, at our local Sam Goody, there was a big cardboard cutout of Kenny near the front of the entrance. And I would not go near it. Like, I would hide behind my dad. Because I was so afraid of Kenny.
I mean, that's interesting, because you would assume it would be something else. You know? It's like, but no, it was Kenny. It was
He scared me. He kept dying and he kept coming back, and that was so messed up, and you couldn't see his whole face. He was just those wide staring eyes, and
Yeah, I know. I get it. It's just really funny because, like, I also watched South Park at way too young. I'm not sure why my parent, especially my mother, let me watch that show. I guess because we were already watching The Simpsons as, like,
Yeah.
normally. Because, like, The Simpsons. Oh, that reminds me actually something because it is related to The Simpsons of things that could be scary. Because I remember an episode of Rugrats.
Yep.
And because Klasky Chupo, who was the animator for Rugrats, did like the first 2 seasons of The Simpsons or something like that. It's the one where Angelica is maybe getting a sibling, and they have like the most terrifying baby.
Shit.
It's the most terrifying.
I remember this. I distinctly remember that.
Well, because like Klasky Chupo was like always kind of ugly in their art style. Like in a way that's appreciable now because
like it's
with everything looking
fun.
so clean, and it wasn't gross like what was it? It wasn't
Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it wasn't like Ren and Stimpy, which was gross as fuck.
Disgusting. Yeah, no. It's like it's not necessarily aesthetically appealing, but it's in a way that works.
Yeah. It's an art style.
Yeah. Like it had a thing it was clearly going for.
Yeah. Like you can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like especially nowadays where a lot of cartoons look vaguely similar. Because
it's like everything's so glossy.
Yeah, because it's the style of the time. And I don't hate the style of the time. It's just, that's the style.
It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember that episode. There was some stuff in Rugrats that was kind of just like creepy.
Yeah, no, I feel like I don't know because I don't watch a lot of television anymore. Period. But I remember when I was like a lot of kids TV used to be a lot more willing to be scary. Like I could not watch Are You Afraid of the Dark too often because it was like, oh no, it's spoopy. I was like 4 at the time.
Right. Yeah, it's and that stuff it's genuinely kind of scary when you're that age.
Yeah. What's yeah?
I mean, I've always been like a big horror fanatic, and I think it's because I had the shit scared out of me very early on, so I just started like craving it.
It's thus craving.
I think my very first encounter with like horror as a child was we had that the book's title was In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories, had an orange cover. You remember,
Well, yeah, like every school had that on the rack.
Yeah. And like the art style in general, I need to look up who did those illustrations because the art style in general was very off-putting in like a good way.
Oh yeah, no, it was not gross. I think that's the one we need to state. It wasn't gross thing. It was like it was meant to be kind of like, well, it meant to look creepy, and it did well.
Of fucking course, Alvin Schwartz was the one who compiled the stories. Alvin Schwartz, who terrified so many children just by putting together public domain stuff and then having the scariest people draw pictures for it.
Yeah.
He was also the one responsible for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So, thank you, Alvin Schwartz. Yeah. Fuck you, Alvin Schwartz. Dirk Zimmer was the illustrator for this.
Good illustrator.
Oh, very good. I love his style.
Also, included in that, we haven't talked about the very obvious man in the room.
Mm-hmm.
R. Ed Stein.
Yes.
The Goosebumps.
I love some Goosebumps.
I didn't read a lot of Goosebumps as a kid, if I'm being supremely honest.
it wasn't like my main go-to, but if there was nothing else and it was reading time in class, I was not above picking up a Goosebumps.
The
Um,
goosebumps. The spoopy bums. Honestly,
but
just points for having so many different fun titles.
right?
God
Yeah,
alone.
I and just like Mr. Stein has never been afraid to go to some weird places with his horror, and like I always appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But so I'm looking at the pictures from the Orange Book, as I like to think of it, and the story that got me was the Green Ribbon.
What happens in the Green Ribbon?
Oh, well, Strauss, let me tell you what happens in the Green Ribbon. There is a girl, and this is like, the old story that nobody remembers who the actual writer is. There's a girl, and she always wears a green ribbon around her neck.
Oh, I
And
remember
she's
what it is.
she's friends with this boy, and this boy is asking her, it's like, why don't you take the ribbon off your neck? And she's like, I can't tell you. And they grow up, they get married, and eventually she gets very sick and she's dying. And eventually she tells her now husband, it's like, okay, you can take the ribbon off. And he takes the ribbon off and her head falls
Yep,
off.
I remember. Now I remember that once I got to it, it's like, yep, that's the one.
And
It's
this led to a
spooky.
very like weirdly specific fear for me of just like being decapitated or having my head just fall off for no reason. Like I was really afraid at age like 5 that my spine was just gonna come like unmoored from the rest of me. But it's the pictures, because the girl is so fucking creepy looking. Like I you I don't know. I'm gonna send you a picture over, you know,
Oh, over the cord.
and it's
Wire it
nothing.
via a pair of tubes. Just two.
And like
This is all recorded over a can and some string.
we're yelling at each other through tin cans. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, yeah, and it's not scary at all. It's just it's just a picture, and I still feel deep dread whenever I see these pictures.
Oh no, the one I'm thinking of is the book Scary Stories to Tell in the
Scary
Dark.
story. Yeah. Same dude compiled those.
It's a
Illustrator for
very
that was
very different illustration.
Stephen Gamel,
Yes,
who
Steve.
also illustrated normal children's books, if you can believe it. And let me show you, because Strauss, talk a little bit about Mr. Gamel's artwork while I'm looking
Uh,
this up.
well, number one, it's mostly black and white. At least that I'm familiar with. It's black and white, but it is weird looking. Everything is just kind of creepy, almost a little surreal. It, it's clearly done via pencil or charcoal.
I think he uses a mixture of watercolor and charcoal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cause like everything about it just look. If you're old enough to remember Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, you know which book I'm talking about. The cover
I
is
won't.
his. I remember historically is the one with the weird head growing out of the ground with a pipe and the red nose.
Yep. Oh yeah. Head that looks a little bit like Sid Haig, in my opinion. Just a tiny bit.
Poor
Rest in
Sid.
peace, Sid Haig. You
Poor
were a
Sid
master.
Haig. Might have been. Hold on. I'm gonna look at a picture of Sid Haig real quick. Do you look? Maybe. See,
But
okay, that it might have been legit. Might have been that might have been the case.
it's like, and I'll make a confession as somebody who works within libraries, is that every time, because years and years later, they did a re-release of the Scary Stories collections, and they had these illustrated by Brett Hellquist of the same man who illustrated for A Series of Unfortunate Events, a very, very talented man.
Mm-hmm.
And the images are considerably less off-putting.
The problem is that like A Series of Unfortunate Events has good art. I was never huge into it, but I know it has good
Yeah,
art. I'm gonna say it. His
but
art style doesn't fit.
I mean, I've read them and like no, it's not the same vibe at all.
No,
It's
because
very different.
like the original illustrations were so not for feel like they were for kids
Right. But
in a good
I'll
way.
admit my bad librarian moment is that sometimes I'll get a family who comes in and asks for those books. And if we have the Hellquist version available, I usually give them that. If they have like really tiny little children, because those books fucked me up immeasurably. And it's just like I kind of want to spare them from the
Oh no, I
from the
remember
experience I
my
had.
experience reading those was because what would happen is I would sometimes have to stay a bit late after school, so we had like the after school part, and I was
Right.
in like the after school room.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, like I was never super scared of monsters.
Right.
I think mostly because I was like I watched a lot of Godzilla movies as a kid, so it's like why would I be scared of Frankenstein? Godzilla is like 100 feet tall and can step on him.
Yeah.
Why would I be scared of Dracula? He can get atomic breath. Anguirus could hit him with his club tail and go.
Kaiju could take any of these guys super easy.
I mean, they're huge. They're large. Like, sorry, Alucard, you might be awesome and cool, but like, it's Godzilla.
Yeah.
Go, go, Godzilla.
Exactly. But as you were saying, because like yeah, I mean, monsters never really scared you that
Yeah.
much.
So it's like so stuff about ghosts and skeletons were a lot more.
Ooh.
Well, actually, skeletons never really scared me either. Now that I think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I blame that on my like very somewhat light Mexican heritage, where it's like
Oh
skulls are
yeah.
everywhere down there. So you're just like, oh look, it's like I have stuff where it's like just a skeleton making dinner.
And it's like culturally, it seems like the way they depict skeletons is very friendly and lighthearted and like.
Well, yeah, and then you realize like how metal like the history of the native populace of Mexico is, and you're like, this is the toned down version. This is after the
Yes.
Catholicism hit.
Definitely.
But it's like I don't know. It's like I never found like skeletons or zombies scary, but like spooky shit in the dark. I do remember like a children's book that we had that was like about this one like Mexican girl talking about, and there's this one kind of very moody page about La
Mm-hmm.
Rona,
Ooh.
and like I don't remember being scared of it, but I remember it being so like I'm gonna see if I can remember what the book is called because I do not have any memories. So if you don't know what La Rona is,
I am acquainted with the legend of La Llorona. Woman who I believe drowns her children and then she comes back as a ghost and she's in search of her lost children.
yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to remember like what the book was called because it
Oh.
wasn't like about her. It's just the mom warning her. It's like she would come for you.
Oh, and in the meantime, while you're looking, I am going to share Stephen Gamel illustrating a normal children's book.
Okay, I'm curious about this because
And
I cannot remember what this book is called like at all. It's like so it had it and it was. You know, much like a lot of other stuff when you were a child, you had a lot of them and you just can't remember shit about them. Hold on, what is
it
it?
all tends to blend together.
Yeah. I remember the book. Well, because I remember the book. You know what? This is definitely his art style, and it's significantly less. I think I remember this book, or at least seeing it because it looks vaguely familiar. But yeah, no, it's one of those books. I remember this book specifically because, unlike most of my like children's book, it was very different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know it was one of those books that like the average kid probably didn't own. You know, when you got a heritage, it suddenly becomes part of your
Oh yeah.
But yeah, La Rona. She'll come for you if you go out in the bog too late.
Now listen, if I was a kid and I heard that story, I would stay the hell inside.
I would not go near that bog. That bog, I'm not going near it.
Nope. fuck that bog.
Not going anywhere close to that bog.
Yeah, but I could definitely see that being very, very unsettling.
Well, I just remember the art because it didn't even really show La Rona like that. What it would show is it would just be like this one like hooded figure just walking through the night and on this foggy day.
Hmm.
It's what I remember.
That is very creepy.
It's just one of the things I remember. It's better than being afraid of your jackets in your closet. Well, because this one was when I was like a very little kid.
Yeah.
And it would look like all the jackets in the closet would look like a face, and that's going I can't really say like I don't really count it because like when you're like 5,
Hmm.
everything scares you,
Oh yeah.
and that's not. This isn't like something weirdly specific. It's just like, oh no, it's a thing.
I have a similar-ish story. I just remember it because it was so vivid to me. So I had one of those stuffed animal nets, like the net you keep in the corner and you put all your toys or whatever in
Yeah,
it.
the storage net. I don't think I
Yeah.
had one of those, but we had stuff like that.
I had a storage net because I absolutely hoarded stuffed animals as a child, and I still do a
How
little bit to this day.
many Beanie Babies was it, like by
All of
percentage?
them. All of the fucking Beanie
Same
Babies.
here. Yep.
I loved them. My favorite was the Siamese cat.
Mm.
But um I just remember having this constant fear that there was okay, severed hand a la thing from the Addams family, just severed little hand crawling around. But I always thought it's like, what if it's living in my animal net and when I go to sleep it's gonna crawl up and it's gonna strangle me while I sleep. And I don't know where I got this from. Like I hadn't really seen much of the Addams family when I was that age, so I didn't really have that basis, but I remember staying up all night, all my lights on, staring at the net, just like, I know you're in there, you fucking thing.
I know you're in there. Come out and just do it.
I was just so scared of that for no reason. It's like I knew there was nothing in there. But
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're that age, everything can be scary at the same time.
yeah.
Like, even when you're not really scared of anything.
It's like kids just have such a weird grip on reality at that point in their lives. It's funny.
I think it has a lot to do with just being like you're young, you don't know what things are,
Yeah.
and so when you see something that doesn't make sense and your brain doesn't have the knowledge to process it.
Yeah, and like I said, I had a very, very active imagination, like
Oh,
to
yeah,
to my detriment.
absolutely. I'm trying
But
to let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that spooked me as a kid because I wasn't very heavily spooked as a kid. Nah, like I saw The Mummy Returns in theaters. That was awesome because that's more of an action movie, anyways. That
that
one
was
really
cool.
scared me. I can't think of anything over the age of 10 or around that like truly scared me that I can remember off the top of my head.
The one other thing that freaked me the hell out as a kid was I was a little bit older, but because my parents were very big into the X-Files, and the episode with the Fluke Man.
Mm.
I did you know which one I'm talking about, right?
No, I never watched the X Files.
Well, let me grab a picture for you. Let me grab
Explain
a
it to the
picture.
audience, or are you going to force me to explain it to the audience?
No, I mean, so the Fluke Man was, I don't have a great memory of the episode itself, but the monster, the Fluke Man, was basically this guy who was infected by this like alien thing that turned him into this parasitic creature, And I think he could, like, flatten himself and go through small spaces and stuff. But it was the most fucked up looking monster makeup. And it's just like, he looks like a burn victim, kind of. He has like this really like
No.
white mottled skin around this like big gaping like red lamprey mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a fan. Don't like it.
Eh,
The
very.
only thing I remember about the X-Files is the Simpsons crossover episode with Mulder and Scully.
That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, it's the feds. I bring you love.
Also, something that scared me.
Well, it was Mr. Burns. You should be afraid of billionaires.
I mean, I'm afraid of Mr. Burns no matter what because of what he represents, but that particular Mr. Burns was not great.
Yeah. I bring you love. It's Mr. Burns. Ah, it's Mr. Burns. Kill it.
Brings us love. Kill it.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah. But I don't know. I watched a lot of TV as a kid. And
I did too.
I had a very porous brain when it came to stuff that frightened me.
You know what I'm just finding surprising, because I know you probably watch it too. We have not mentioned anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like any of that stuff. It's like, nope, that didn't scare us.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
What?
Huh?
What? You don't know what Yu-Gi-Oh! is?
No, I said I loved Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh yeah, me too. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. I was just like, I'm surprised that none of that scared the shit out of us.
Oh, I don't know why it didn't. Like,
yeah, it's funny because like I remember all this stuff that did scare me from other things or caused me distress as a child, but not a lot of it was from the anime that I watched, and I watched quite a bit of anime when I could.
right.
Huh. Weird that.
It's so strange how like, yeah, none of that had any effect.
Yeah, it's like a lot of stuff that you'd think that would have. Because, like, that's, you know what it is? It's because, like, they didn't have to, like, dance around the subject matter of, like, yes, you're gonna die if you do this.
If you die in the card game, you die for real.
It's like, oh no, you get banished to hell. Which, by the way, in it it's just banished to hell. The Shadow Realm's a much cooler name. Rare case where the 4-kid censorship might have actually been better.
Shadow Realm is infinitely cooler sounding.
Yeah, it is infinitely cooler sounding. But it's just really funny to be like, man, wild that, like, none of the Pokemon episodes that had literal ghosts or any
The ghost Pokemon. Okay, the only thing related to Pokemon that ever scared me was when you're in Lavender Town and you haven't gotten like the Sylph Scope yet. So like all the ghosts you see are just like those shadowy amorphous blobs with like big mean faces.
Yep.
Those upset me and I don't know why. Also the fact that your Pokemon could like die, that there were people who were like there to like grieve their Pokemon.
Yeah,
and that made me
it's something one of those things that you forget is a thing that could happen, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing that happens.
It's like, no.
That is real.
No, they don't die, they just faint. Yeah, but that was the only thing that ever bothered me, because like the ghost Pokemon themselves have always been so like goofy and fun.
Yeah.
It's
funny, because all the children's anime we've seen, none of that came out but the Rugrats.
Rugrats just like, I think Rugrats really nailed like kind of the perspective of what it's like to be a little kid and not really understand things well, and sometimes the world is scary because it doesn't make sense.
Unless you have like a really cool greaser type guy who shows up
Yes.
and he like brings you back to your mom and he's like, "Don't worry, Mrs. P, I got you covered." And he gives you sunglasses.
Hell yeah.
I recently remembered that specific episode. But yeah, there's something like weirdly like horrific about all of it that just like only like Rugrats really tapped into, because like I've watched a lot of anime meant for kids and it's like it's nowhere near as terrifying as anything I ever saw in Rugrats.
Oh, and it's so funny how that works because it's just like Rugrats of all things.
Yeah. You think the show about babies wouldn't terrify you? You're wrong. You're very wrong.
It gets the baby experience a little too right.
It gets that like you said, it's that very little kid sort of feeling about the world.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh. Also, maybe because the music was also really fucking weird half the time.
Oh, the music was so strange.
I mean, that's what happens when you get a member of Devo to do your music. Wah, 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 wah. That's not even that much of an exaggeration. There was one that was like that.
Also, like, Angelica bothered me a little bit just because she was so mean. Like, I don't know. They really do a good job of capturing like how scary like older kids can be when they're not very nice to you.
There's a lot of things that Rugrats, scariest show for children, not the Angry Beavers. who
Loved Angry Beavers.
They loved Angry Beavers. They loved horror movies, old horror movies specifically.
Yes.
That Halloween special, by the way, is like a tribute to all those monster classic movie monsters, and it's great.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I broke my ankle. All right, we got you. What happened? I broke my other ankle.
Also, you know, shout out to one of the all-time greats, Richard Horvitz, voice of Daggett, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah. Just fabulous man. Nobody can yell quite like him.
No, that's a voice that only one person can make, and it's him.
Also, the voice of a main character of Psychonauts, Rasputin.
Isn't he also the voice of Zim?
He is also the voice of Zim. That is, I think, what he is most well known for.
I think what's really funny, because you'd think Zim would also appear on our list, but I think Zim, it wasn't ever really terrifying. Never. I mean, it should be, but it's not.
Zim, I think you knew what you were getting into right out the gate.
Yeah, I think like even though I had no idea who Joan Vasquez was back in the day, obviously, like I think he wore that shit on his sleeve.
Oh yeah, and it's so funny now because it's like, who let this man have a children's show?
It really is kind of crazy to think like this man had a children's show. Nickelodeon thought, it's like, you know who? Here are going to be our two new Nicktoons because they premiered at the same time. It's going to be Butch Hartman and his like show about a kid with fairy godparents who have magic, and this weird goth guy with his terrifying things about an alien who replaces people's organs with random objects.
And we should note too that Jonan's previous body of work was Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Yeah, it's a very weird combination that makes not a lot of sense the more you think about it.
I mean, I'm really glad they gave him that opportunity because, well, I think watching that show really did make me dumber in the process. I don't regret it.
No, I think it's a good show. It's such a weird thing. It's very weird. It's like, it's this weird thing that's like, it's definitely, I think it's because when that came out, we were both like 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 10.
We were like 10, 9 around that era. It's like the very early 2000s. And by that point, we reach the age where it's like that stuff stops being scary and starts being cool.
Yeah, you sort of develop that like bile fascination with like, oh, this is creepy and weird. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was unfortunately also a little immunized to really like weird unsettling stuff at that point because like also another show, I don't know why the hell this was okay with my parents. My dad would watch it with me. Ren and Stimpy. I watched that a lot as a young person and I don't know why that was okay with them.
My guess is.
Absolutely awful.
Oh no, hold on. Hi everyone, this is called coughing fits.
You all right?
Dry throat. But yeah, no, I think with Ren and Stimpy, it's gross, but it's not horrific. It's just disgusting.
Oh yeah, it's just nasty.
It's nasty. It's just nasty.
Yeah, but I don't know why Ren and Stimpy was okay.
We'll never
But
know for sure.
it's a mystery.
And that was some of the things that kind of sort of scared us as a child.
Yeah.
But
So now you know a little more about us.
yeah, you know a little bit more about the things that scared us as children, from haunted posters to TV shows to books to our clothes in a closet.
Your
And it's-
Rugrats.
to especially Rugrats for some reason. I don't know why Rugrats affected us so much. But before we go, we still got a little bit of time left. We
Hmm.
haven't quite reached an hour of talking to each other like crazy people. What the hell you been watching, Sarda?
Well, I am actually pretty happy because I finally finished watching Skinamarink, the that spooky movie with the silly name that everybody's been talking about.
How is it?
And you know what? It was pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's I'll say it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's very like it's less of a movie with a story than it is a movie that's just pure vibes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go into it with that in mind, I think you'll have a better time. But it's very unsettling. Definitely if you can, watch it on a laptop at 2 in the morning with headphones in a pitch black room. And I think you'll get the best effect from it.
There you have it, folks. As for me, I haven't been watching anything new that's like a show or a movie, but I do have a YouTube rec.
Oh?
I've been watching Ancient Americas.
Okay.
Fulfilling my other major fascination of history, and it's specifically about, well, pre-Columbian American society and various things. I will read off some titles for you. The Trouble with Toltecs, the Nazca culture, reading between the lines. Let me look at some ones. Okay, not going to try to pronounce that. I'm not good at it. No, thank you.
Fair enough.
The Rise of the Maya, pre-classical brilliance. This one guy has... this is probably my favorite one. Potatoes, South America's gift to the world. This is the history of pre-Columbian societies.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of different videos on random topics. Like, he has one on maize, the Olmec legacy,
Uh-huh.
the Mesoamerican calendar.
Okay.
It's just a whole bunch of stuff. I'll link. Hold on, I'll send you a link because this is your jam. You will love.
All right.
There you go. Also, to get that picture out of the way. No, thank you. There you go. This is the channel. It's great. I highly recommend it because it's respectful, it's educational, and it's just a whole bunch of different random stuff.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I will be sure to check that one out.
Because when I was finishing up Wrath of the Righteous, because that's a game that's only partially voice acted, I would just play this in the background and just like on my other monitor. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. It's like, oh, of course, that's the origin of the thing. It's like, oh, that's how they deciphered my script. Interesting.
Well, I always like learning more about history, so that I think is going to be something for me. And plus, I can always use more stuff to draw too.
Yeah. And nothing is more fun to draw than the horrors of what came out of pre-Columbian Americans' minds.
Yes, indeed.
Nothing was truly more metal than that.
I love metal things.
Yeah, I had to recommend I had to recommend my friend Celine onto Metalocalypse. I was
Yes.
just it was last night. She referenced the Rick and Morty bit, and I'm like, that's neat and all. It was relevant, and I'm like, no, hold on, I need to tell you the real good shit. Her favorite after just looking at the boys was Toki Wartooth, which is not
Always a
shocking.
good choice.
Never a wrong choice with Toki.
Oh yeah, Toki's a good boy.
Grandpa's guitar. I love Grandpa's guitar.
Little baby playing grandpa's guitars.
Yeah.
Good stuff though.
Yeah.
Other things I am in material I am consuming at the moment. I have been, and this isn't a new thing because I reread like no one's business. I have been going back through a bit of a Nick Cutter binge, and Nick Cutter is an author. He is a pen name for another guy, I believe is a Canadian author, but he writes all his horror stuff under this name. And if I could describe his prose style in a sentence, it would be thanks, I hate it. He writes beautifully. His word choice and just usage is exquisite, and he writes some of the most upsetting things you can imagine with it.
Yeah. As for me, I think we're gonna move on to a little special little thing, and
Mhm.
we're in the process of hype here at the Skeleton Crew Studios. Uh, the the Bone Zone, I guess, is where we are officially calling our desks.
Yes, this is the Bone Zone. We are
Welcome,
live from there.
welcome from our Bone Zones. That's such a terrible name, and it's gonna stick.
It's a great name.
It's a terrible name, and I love it. But we're both waiting on a certain game that's coming out in 2 days.
Yes.
We're both waiting on Yakuza Ishin because we will talk about the Yakuza franchise at some point. That is an episode. We know it's an episode. It's just a matter of when. And
I
it's coming. It combines our two most beloved fascinations: samurai and these fucking old men.
These old criminal men.
They're not normal men. They're definitely not
They're
innocent
not
men.
innocent men.
Very much not innocent men. Not you, Machima. One of my favorite bits is how they keep bringing up the one time he drove a dump truck through a thing.
I believe it was a pink dump truck and he drove it through a brothel.
Yep. And no one has ever once let it go.
I mean, why
It's
would you?
you can't, but it's just so funny. It's been literal like in universe like almost 20 years, like 15 years later, and no, Majima, we haven't forgotten the time you did that.
You absolute goon.
You wild man.
Absolute mad lad.
Yep. But yeah, we're waiting on that because that's coming out like literally in 2 days for us, and that's gonna be one of like the two games coming out for me before another game comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of those two games, the other one is Octopath 2, which I'm hyped
Yes.
for and excited. I'm starting with Casti the Apothecary this time.
Oh, very nice.
Well, okay, so I don't know if you know about this, but in the original Octopath demo, the very first like proof of concept demo, they only had Ulbrich and Primrose's chapter 1. That's the Ulbrich was the
Mm-hmm.
older gentleman who was a former knight of a fallen kingdom The other one was Primrose, who was a dancer out for revenge, who was secretly
Yeah.
immortal. And it's all great and all that stuff, but on the second demo, they let you play like the first 3 hours of the game, and that was your save file. It's one of those.
Right.
And it was so funny because I'm like, oh, I didn't realize the save file part. So I started and I'm like, I'm gonna pick Hannah. I wonder what her deal is. So I did that, and she ended up being my lead-off character for the rest of the game because of it. Not mad, just like, well, should have read the fine print.
I guess
Not that
so.
I'm complaining. Hannah was good. But
Yeah,
this
I
time around,
am.
I'm ready, so deliberate choices.
Yeah, I'm looking at the characters on the wiki right now, and everybody looks pretty cool.
For the first game or the second game?
Second game.
Oh yeah. No, it's also Octopath 2 is that meme image from Tumblr where someone said it's like, if you want a D&D party that's a pirate, samurai, cowboy, and whatever the fourth one was, you can do that. And this game is
Yeah.
that in a nutshell, because you got
I'm going purely based on vibes for this new group on which one I think I would like. I like Temenos, the cleric, because he has kind of a bastardly face.
Oh no, it's better. He's an inquisitor.
Oh.
He is a bastard. Hold on.
Oh, good.
Hold on.
Okay.
I have something for you about this since we were talking about it. I have. Let me. Where are they? They're like in a weird spot. I know I have them. Here we go. I have they have all the character themes. They were already posted online. I'm just gonna send them to you.
Very neat.
There you go. And press the button. All 8 files you can play on your computer. It doesn't work on your phone, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah.
Very cool.
You have Throne the thief. You have Casti the apothecary. Temenos the cleric. Portuccio the merchant who wants to defeat the devil known as poverty. But no, he sounds like, well, gosh shucks, ma'am. Gotta defeat that devil. Yeah, no, that's what he talks like. Oswald the scholar, Ochet the hunter, Agni the dancer, and Hikari the warrior.
Okay, I changed my mind. I like Particio the most.
He's probably going to end up being your favorite, but I think you'd also like knowing your taste in male characters. Temenos is 100% a character meant for you.
I love a good bastard.
Yeah. Like, yeah, but so far I'm going to be actually streaming Agni's opening because sadly you are not available on Thursdays, and so we can't finish Persona 4 Golden until Sunday. Which might also, by the way, saying it now, you should come to our streams. They're fun.
Yes, you should.
But yeah, it's very exciting because that comes out next week. So basically, I got the weekend's going to be devoted to Yakuza on my spare time.
Yes.
And then it's going to Ishin, and then it's going to be, after that, I have to beat Octopath Traveler as fast as I can, because after that, at the end of next month, is Wo Long. And I'm like, God, slow down. Slow down, quarter one.
You are going to be very busy, my friend.
You know it. I'm excited. Everyone's excited.
Yes.
These games are fun. Games are fun.
They are. Fun things are fun.
Yeah, but we are definitely like, both of us are like, I know you have it ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
You're waiting for midnight Thursday night being like,
I am salivating.
I am too, because it's like, I need something new to play, and this is like the perfect thing I need for the moment.
Yes.
It's like, we're like, yes, give it to me.
So we got a lot to look forward to. Well, anything else, my friend?
I don't really think so. I think we covered all the stuff we wanted to cover today. Unless you have something you want to talk about.
Nothing really of note. No. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for everything that's coming up. I hope y'all are ready to hear a lot about Yakuza Ishin, because I'm not going to shut the fuck up about it.
If you follow Sardo at Autopsy Garland on Twitter,
on the Twitters,
you will probably see many pictures of it.
Yes, you will.
And if you come to any one of my streams when Sardo's around, we're probably also going to talk about it briefly.
Yes.
I know it's going to happen to us on Sunday.
Oh, it will.
I realized something, and I'll tell you once we're done about Sunday, and you're gonna find it funny. But the point is, we're really excited for what's coming up in our lives, and I hope you are too. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for once again
Yeah.
listening to our podcast. You can follow me at Almighty Stross on Twitter.com. Also, the same on Twitch, where I stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I almost said Monday. I do not stream Mondays.
Stross's streams are really fun. You should go see them.
You can also usually find Unkle Death here quite often. You're like my most consistent guest.
Yes.
You're practically my co-host, like semi-permanent co-host at this point. Not that I'm complaining.
I'm a fairly frequent co-pilot.
Yeah. It's a great co-pilot.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely evening and a lovely rest of your week.
Subscribe to the channel that this is posted on, please. I know who the first subscriber was. It was me.
And we'll see you when we see you next time.
We will hopefully have this up by Monday the 20th? Yes, okay, it is the 20th.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll try to... If you haven't seen it already, I hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you on the next episode, where we'll talk about something different. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something. It's not going to be the brainworms. Not yet. Be warned.
It'll be a surprise.
Yay. To us, too. We haven't decided yet.
Yes.
No one knows.
Least of all us.
Yes.